Welcome to part 17 of the 1951 Ford F1 truck rebuild series. It's been a bit of a mess. I posted part 16 just recently, but that was actually taken about a year and a half ago. We've been in a stall for a lot of reasons, but we're back to it. So let's start where we're starting. I want to get this thing driving, rolling, moving down the road. Not so worried. We're doing a little bit of body work just so you don't fall through the floorboards and things, but really just want to get it where it's a driver, and then we can start working more detail on the body work. So put in this fabricated this plate down here in the floorboard where the pedals push through, where the steering column goes through. I'm probably going to change this up later, but for now it's adequate. I'm probably going to make it a two-piece plate similar to what was originally in the truck. And but we'll change that up later and make it a little more like I'd like to have it permanently. Anyway, so that's good. Steering column's in. You'll notice through the plate we've got the steering column insert, or whatever you want to call it. The steering column goes through to the outside. So let's go look at the steering system. Okay, so the steering linkages, at least, is pretty well done. You can see it starts up here at the column. This plastic plug keeps sliding out of the bottom of the column. Work on that. So it comes out of the bottom of the column to a first U-joint, and then it goes to a carrier point with a piece of angle that we welded on the frame to hold that, to the second U-joint, and then down to the third U-joint at the steering box. So remember, if you have two U-joints, no problem. Don't need this little point to carry it. If you have three, then you're going to have some type of carrier. And anyway, so that's that. All this is mostly I did it parts, but you can get these things in a lot of configurations, a lot of places. So the next thing we're going to do, well, I'm going to show you one other thing, but just skip with you. One of the next things we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and assemble the power steering unit, AC compressor, bracket systems, get all that put on the engine. And when we do that, we're also going to go ahead, because it's going to block it, we're going to go ahead and stick in the oil pressure sending unit and go ahead and put in the temperature sending unit for the gauge set, just because we're here. And so we'll get that going before we start putting the gauges in and those kind of goodies. So all right, let me show you one other thing. So one of the other things we recently did, this truck had a hole in it right here, and that hole was where where you used to access the master cylinder for the brakes. But with the new vacuum advanced power master cylinder system, we had to, reservoir's located here, so we had to cut us an access panel. Still need to make a cover for that access panel, but for now at least we'll be able to get to it, and we'll make a cover for it a bit later. Pretty trivial to do. So let's move on. Let's get the front of this engine put together with the accessory drives, and we'll take it a step at a time. Alright, well, we got the accessory drive going on. As you can see, this Saginaw P-Series power steering pump is from CVS. This entire bell drive assembly is a CVS product for a Ford 302 serpentine belt with air conditioned power steering alternator over there. Anyway, so yeah, this is CVF system. We're trying to get this or we are getting this installed. Now we're just going to put on the air conditioning compressor, and then we'll put on the idler pulley, and we'll be getting there. So it's going to be busy up in here. It'll be pretty full, but hey, that's the plan. All right, well, let's see if we can get some more of this together. All right, well, that's pretty much it for the bracket system for now. I'll let you take a half look at it. It's a little dark in there, I know. But basically, it's a great system. CVF Racing makes it. Having a little bit of struggle right now with, let's see, what was it? Oh, spacers. I may have mislaid a spacer. I'm not sure, but I'm going to call CVF and get another spacer that I need to finalize this thing. But yeah, I love it. This one struggle is with the belt that came with it. If I put that belt on, my power steering pump ends up pulled way in like that, which basically means you can't get to the fill spout. So I need to get a longer belt, which I've ordered a belt that's 2 inches longer, and if I can get it more out this direction, then I'll be able to fill it, check it, without having to take the air conditioner off or remove the belt, one of the two. Anyway, so we're going to hold on that until I get those spacers, but functionally it's done. Just got to finish up the details, and we're not planning on running it anytime soon anyway, so we're good. All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is going to be gauges. Let me show you that. All right, so I took out the stock gauges. It's a stock hole for the stock gauges, and they are for these gauges from Autometer. We need for these gauges we need a 4 5/8 inch hole. These holes are currently, this hole is currently 4.5. So I've enlarged this one. A little bit of struggle, I guess, but basically here's a flange in here, lip, and so I'm having to take that lip out at least part way around. When I did that, of course, it also made this come loose in here. So we'll figure out what we're going to do with that. May just leave it just like that. Anyway, let's see if we can finish enlarging these holes. I think before we go any further cutting these holes out, I'm going to go ahead and pull the steering column back out. Steering column's been here for a while. It's got some surface rust on it. Got some 2K epoxy primer coming, and I think we'll go ahead and get that out of there. We can sand it off in a little bit and put the primer on it while we have it. We're probably going to prime the dash and those kind of things once we get all this cleaned up and get the gauges reset and deal with the wiper motor. I'll show you that in a little bit. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pull the steering wheel, then pull the column, and then we'll worry about enlarging this hole. Alright, so we did get the steering column out, and we managed to enlarge both holes and get the new gauges to fit. Love those new gauges. Oh, they're going to be perfect. They're not currently clamped in, held in. They're just propped up there, and so yeah, I'm excited about that. Now I did get the temperature gauge installed here. The fuel level sending in it is in the tank. I've not done anything with regard to oil pressure. Excuse me, that's the fuel sender. This is the voltage. So we've not done anything about this, which that's a simple wire off the charge system. This is a sending unit, which I've got the sending unit. I don't have the right fittings to attach it, so we'll get those fittings shortly and get that installed. And then I need to also put in the speedometer sensor, the speed sensor, and it goes down here on this transmission, and so we need to get that done as well. Just trying to wrap it up system by system. All this stuff's coming back out. It's just all mock-ups and temporary. Got some 2K black epoxy primer coming. I'm going to try to go ahead and get the windshield out later today, maybe, and go ahead and get some sanding done on the dash and the front section of the cab here, and probably, or try to at least, get some black primer on here, some 2K primer, and yeah, we'll just see what happens. Also, I'm going to shave a bunch of these holes. Not those, that's for trim. But here we had a choke. It's still radio. I've got the radio delete plate, so we'll leave that alone. But here we've got the ignition switch, which we have one of those. Hole's probably not going to be the right size. And we're also going to have a light switch, headlight switch. So I'm probably going to put it over here where the old start button was. I'm not going to have a start button on the new one. I'm just going to use the ignition switch. So we'll shave this one, this one was the choke. This one was I don't remember what. But really all we need is the ignition switch, and we need a place for the headlights, headlight switch. And so yeah, that's all we're going to do. We're probably going to reuse this blower switch when we get the new AC unit installed, if it's doable. We don't have to, but it might be kind of fun to use the old blower switch. And yeah, so moving on, let's do this thing. Alright, so here's the wiper motor. It's a vacuum driven or pneumatic wiper motor. When I first pulled it out of the truck some time back, it didn't want to work at all. Let me set you down here. Didn't want to work at all. There's a big leather or cloth diaphragm inside this this area that sweeps back and forth, and then there's on the other side there's a valve, and every time it goes to one sweep it shifts the valve and it pushes it back this way, and that's what gets it for you. So oiled it all up with brake fluid, just regular old DOT3 brake fluid like that, and let it sit for a little while, manipulate it by hand. Got a new vacuum hose, put it on my vacuum pump, and it seems to work. And I'll show you the here's the original switch. The switch triggers pulls a cable here which triggers this on and off, and so let me turn it on here. So if we turn the switch, you can see we've got action. Hopefully the angle is decent. So it works. Turn the switch back off and it parks. Here, come on. There we go. There you go. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. So yeah, it works now. And is it good enough? I don't know. We're going to stick it back in there and find out. I want to make sure the windshield wiper system is working before I take out the windshield. And yeah, it works. Seems to work well enough. And this mounts back in the dash. And so yeah, we'll give it a go. Let's see what happens. All right, so onto this windshield wiper motor. Here's the two wiper arms. The longer one goes over the shorter one when you install it. You'll notice this has a hex in it right here. Yep, and then this one doesn't. So I've got the hex that's on the motor, and that's just to keep them aligned. So you can see the windshield wiper right there, and yeah, there it is. So they're going to be in the down position whenever we start, and we're going to install it. Now they screws onto, there's two screws on the pump, and they screw onto these two tabs right here. You can also pull this entire bracket down, but at the time I pulled it, I just pulled these two screws. So let's see if we can get it back in there. All right, well, new plan. Didn't like how tight the arms were outside. It took more force. Never did hook it all the way up, but I just tried it and it was too much force. So I'm gonna take this whole thing out, lubricate all those pivot points. I tried to lubricate them with it in there. It's hard to get to them, just taking them out. In order to take out the whole system, which is not a great big deal, I needed to take out these defrost vents, screw on each side. So we're going to take out the defrost vents. They come out looking kind of like that. We'll go ahead and clean them up while they're out, you know, make everything look good. Anyway, so let's get those out, and then we're going to drop the whole system out, make sure it works good. All right, if we take a look at the whole system, what we see is this is the driver's side or passenger side arm connection, right? It's really loose and floppy. This one on this side is tight, and so we need to figure out how to fix that one. And then once we do, we'll make our connections here, and we should be good to go. And we'll stick it back up in. This whole thing is held in by the nuts that hold this thing to the body, and so yeah, the whole thing ultimately is held in there like this. I had taken it off of these screws on the bottom here just to take the motor down, which is certainly the easier way. In order to get this completely out, that's why I had to remove the defrost vents, because this side it wouldn't let it pull back far enough. The defrost vent blocked it. So let's get this thing 100%, and then we'll get it installed, and then we'll just keep going. It's a step by step by step. Well, I got it loosened up. Got it hooked back up to the vacuum pump where I previously had it, and I just got it cycling just to help lubricate everything up. I've been spraying WD-40 on it, particularly right there. That one arm on that side is a stiff one, and yeah, it seems to be doing better. When I first turned it on, oh yeah, she barely moved at all, so I had to work it by hand for quite a while. And then got where it would move it, the motor would move it. So yeah, I got both sides hooked up, and just letting it work a while. Not hurt anything. Just letting the oil get up in there good. All right, on to other things. All right. Well, I don't know. Look, I just keep changing my mind about everything. I decide what the next thing is, and then I don't do it and move on to something else because it makes more sense at the moment, or tired of doing something, whatever. But so the windshield wipers are working. I did not reinstall them. No sense in it. You can see here the penetration holes for windshield wipers went over there as well. Because the next thing I probably should do is go ahead and take the cowl vent apart. The cowl vent originally was frozen, not surprising, rusty and frozen. So we got it coated with PB Blaster and got it to open up. And so we're going to go ahead and take it apart. You just have to, looks like, got some screws, 4 screws here, take off the actual metal vent part, and then we got some screws here in this flange, lift that off. And then there's this whole lifting mechanism underneath, which we'll take off. And we're just going to clean everything up, go ahead and get it ready to prime. We'll go ahead and prime all that while we're priming the dash. And then the other thing is we got the windshield out. It's not too great, but it's not too bad either. We've definitely got a significant spot here that we got to deal with. And then down in that corner down there, we have several spots that we need to deal with. So we're going to do some patching, obviously, and we can make it happen. And then probably go ahead and do that patching while we're cleaning up, getting ready to paint, and so we can go ahead and prime this as well. So I guess kind of my aim is prime this cowl vent, dash, window sill, or window rim. I'm going to go ahead and prime up here a little ways just to create a boundary, and then up under the dash a bit, as much as we can reasonably get to. And yeah, the primer I'm using is a black 2K primer, epoxy primer. So it's a 2-part, and it happens to be in a rattle can from Eastwood. And so once you puncture the bottom of that can to make the 2 parts, and you don't want to leave any behind. Use it all up. So we'll get plenty done. I hope plenty cleaned up and ready, and we'll use what we can out of that rattle can when we do it. So hey, we're making progress, albeit slow. So I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do next after that, because heck, I'm not even sure. Anyway, we're moving on.